Welcome, Donnamaree.
Thanks. Good to
You
talk to you.
you excited?
Yeah,
Hey,
I
like
am
we
very
get to
excited.
total
I
close to free.
know. I know. How often have we talked, actually?
How many phone calls in the last year?
50 million. In the last 18 months, probably, isn't it?
Is it? How
I
did
think
we
it's
meet?
last year.
How did we meet?
Rach. Rach from
Rach.
Markey. She used to be at Soda, and then she was
Yeah,
like, I've got the guy for you.
really.
Yeah. And I went, wicked.
We should.
Yes.
So, what are we doing today? We're going to talk about Tanya.ai.
Yep.
Talk a
Yes.
little bit about you. Going to talk a little bit around. I don't know whether it's the right words, but financial literacy in small business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about that.
Do you
Yeah.
think it's the right word, financial literacy, or
I
or
like a financial upskilling is
yeah,
probably financial literacy sounds like it's zero, and it's not zero usually.
no.
People can count. And so I feel financial literacy feels like they're doing numeracy literacy at
How
school.
did you how did you come to be like a financial whiz?
Apparently, I was always good at numbers.
Really?
Um,
Good at
yeah,
school?
no, no. So very bad at school. Not really bad. I always stayed on this side of the line, but I was quite bored at school,
Yeah.
and so I didn't really pay a lot of attention to the teachers. Plus, I
Yeah.
had a lot of personal stuff going on in the background, which they didn't know about, or they may have known about, but yeah. And so I didn't. Obviously, as a child, I had difficulty handling those types of things. So
Mm.
I just rebelled really when I was at school.
Now we should start at the beginning. So, um,
Yeah, sure.
welcome, Donnamaree Ryder, founder of
Yeah.
Tanya.ai. Tell us what Tanya.ai is.
So Tanya is basically a tool that helps small to medium businesses be able to upskill and understand where their financials are at using their live data. But
What does that mean?
yeah, is that in simple terms. So rather than people worrying about having to just look at numbers and compare them themselves and figure it all out, Tanya basically analyzes all of the information for them and then plays it back to
And
them.
serves it up.
Yep, serves it
Oh,
up on a
sorry.
platter
Yeah.
and says, this is what your cash looks like, this is what your income looks like. But she doesn't do it like just giving them the numbers, because the numbers alone are not enough. You have to understand the numbers in relation to each other. And so she's effectively analyzing all of the numbers across the different statements to then be able to give you an update.
So is it like your accountant
Yeah,
next to you?
yeah. So basically, when the accountant initially, when a business owner will meet with their accountant,
Yeah.
they'll usually go through two stages. The
Yeah.
first one will be, where am I at right now? And so
Yeah.
this is where you're at from a
Yeah.
cash perspective, from a profit perspective, from a debt perspective. And then they'll move into, in the second phase, saying, well, based on that, let's see how we can fix some of those things, or let's see how we can grow your business. And
So
so,
basically,
yeah,
Tanya is your super knowledgeable advisor on the current state of your financials in a business, right? So you
yeah,
and I, from what I understand, Tanya is actually quite smart. It's because it's not a person, it's a
no,
computer.
yes, it
It's
is.
like AI.
Yes, it is. It makes it sound really flash,
It
um,
does.
but maybe I can simplify it. So
Yeah, do.
if you think about it, when your accountant sits there and they're looking at the numbers, they're doing that because they've gained experience and understand what the terms mean
Yeah.
and what they're trying to tell you. So effectively, Tanya is doing the same thing. She's doing the first phase of that two-phase process. So what we would call the kind of update. She's
Yep.
giving you an update to highlight where things need to be taken into consideration and focus put on.
Like what your margin is, what your profit is,
Yeah.
what your accounts receivable.
Yeah, all of your age debtors, like so it was quite interesting. While we've been live, people say, I don't even know what a receivable or payable is. And I'm like, you're right. And so we say things like, actually it's your money owed to you or money that you owe somebody. So that's what I mean about upskilling from a financial perspective.
So it's
about
demystifying.
Yeah, it's based. Yeah.
And demystifying and change the language. Like, as you know, we've just completed, it's pretty cool actually, yesterday, the panel for the Vaka Pacifica Manaki U Challenge, right? And what we had, like 850 Pacifica businesses come onto the Manaki platform. 260 of them made an application for a grant. And the super interesting thing is 90% of them, one of their top 3 goals was understanding their financials. And so you're saying Tanya actually can help you, like and is it a chat or is it?
You. Yeah, it's like Messenger, like Facebook or Instagram, how you messenger your mates. She's doing the same thing. You don't actually have to say anything. For example, when our users use her, they say in 3 clicks, I get to find out how my cash flow is, how my.
And you have to have, but you have to have an accounting. You have to be on Xero.
Xero account. Yeah.
Just Xero?
Yeah, just Xero at this stage.
Okay. So
but you don't have to know anything. That's the cool thing. So you don't have to be, you don't know. I mean, even if you don't like adding numbers, I know lots of people who don't like that. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is read what she's saying. And so some of our users, for example, one I had yesterday said she couldn't understand her financials. And secondly, her accountant couldn't explain it to her a way that she could understand. And so I sat with her while she went through her session. And she said, I understand. It's telling me, now I know that I need X amount of dollars per day to make the amount that I want. And so she's supporting you to understand that information. And so that's how we've simplified her. And it's not about people calling it dumbing down, right? It's not about dumbing down, because financial understanding is just like any other skill set. If you were to put me next to, I always bring up my mother-in-law, but it's true. Like, she can cook like, a master chef, right?
Do you like your mother-in-law?
I like her. I love my mother-in-law, actually.
Good.
But if you were to put me next to her in a kitchen, literally she'd just be telling me to like get the spoon, or like cooking is clearly not my skill set. I can cook so that we can survive.
Feed the whānau, yeah.
But I'm definitely not a master chef. And so I like it. It's exactly the same thing. Just because you don't understand it, someone else does. So our team do, and that's why we built Tanya.ai.
So if a small business via the Manaki platform wants to trial out Tanya, how do they do it? And because I believe you've got a special offer right now as well, right?
We have, yeah, absolutely. So for the next 6 weeks to the end of 2021, we've opened up Tanya for free. All you have to do is go to our website at Tanya.ai and click on the Try Tanya for free link. Log in with your Xero account, and she'll come straight up with the conversation and start sharing the information with you.
So that's pretty cool. And actually, I've tried it out. I tried it out 2-3 days ago, and it's super sweet, super easy, and it just, it takes you through a journey, and then you can start asking questions. And it's pretty cool now. So people can just get on and use that, and that's, I think, also for Tanya. Tanya's going to get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Over time, it's going to get smarter and smarter. Yeah.
Even in the last week, we've made a couple of enhancements based on the feedback from our users. I mean, the sole purpose of creating Tanya is to give back and to help those small to medium businesses. They make up the majority of our businesses here in New Zealand.
Why are you so passionate about this?
Because I know what it's like to struggle, and I know that small to medium business, because they're small, everyone forgets about the little guy. Well, the little guy, if all the little guys went away, we'd have no economy. Our economy would fall over. So the little guys actually make a huge contribution globally to each of their economies. Here, Australia, the US, the UK, everywhere. But just because they don't make squillions of dollars and they don't have huge teams of people, unfortunately, they don't get access to the information that Tania.ai is providing on an instant basis. They have to go to their accountant, or they have to go to their business advisor.
And there's too big a delay, right?
Like
once a quarter, once a year. How am I going?
Well, and they don't really have a huge amount of funds to be able to pay for it either. I mean, this is not to say that Tania.ai replaces your accountant, because there is huge value in having an accountant, because what they can do is they do the second phase. So Tania does the first phase. She'll update you on where things are at, help you understand. If you know enough about your business and you feel comfortable, you can then shoot off and go and start doing it, right? Yeah. Those who need more support, that's what your accountant is for, is to reach out and try and problem solve. I mean, that's their experience, and that's where their value is, in giving you that higher level financial advisory services.
Why did you call it Tania? Why did you call it, and not Donnamaree?
Because there's only one Donnamaree in the world. I called her Tania. I named her after my mum.
Wow.
So where that came about was, as I was growing up, I come from a really low socioeconomic background. That sounds really flash, but basically I'm from the hood. My mum was a solo mum, couldn't read and write, had odd jobs throughout the years as we were growing up, but effectively was on the benefit for the majority of her life. But what she did know is that she wanted us to have a better life. So her and I used to dream about what it would be like to have money, lots of money. Wow. I remember when she won $500 at bingo, I swam in it when she came home, and it felt like $1 million. But so we dreamed together, and when we were dreaming, it was I'd get educated, and then once I got educated, I would bring that back. And so as I've worked through my education and career, although I didn't do well at school at all, I just scraped into varsity. I've always had that vision. Like, she almost like brainwashed her. She trained me to know where I was, what I needed to do, through my life. And so I just went through life going, am I ready? Am I ready? And then when I was working for Fonterra and helped roll out a global program, I was like, yeah, I think I'm ready. But I didn't do well at the give back initially, because I didn't realize the gap was so large. Like, I thought that, if I just kind of gave them a one pager, or if I kind of pointed to them in the accounting system, that they'd get it, but they didn't. And that's when I realized that it's actually not everyone's favorite thing to do, is to look at numbers.
But you like numbers.
Yeah, I love it. I could sit there with a spreadsheet all day and have the time of my life.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. And can I tell you a really cool story?
Of course.
Although I played up at high school, in sixth form, I used to always sit at the back, of course. And so it's quite funny on our journey to NASDAQ, on our road trip to NASDAQ, I'm in the front. But anyway, when I was younger, when I was sitting at the back of the bus, we had an accounting exam in sixth form, an accounting exam. And I was like, I only did accounting because I knew I had to know how money worked, because that's what Mum and Mum dreamed about. And my teacher, because I was disrupting my mates while they were doing their exam, because I wasn't going to do it, she made me sit at the front.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I had to do it because I was bored. And I got top of the class. And so the funny thing was,
pretty cool.
the next class she came back and she said, I don't know how you did this, and I know you didn't cheat because you were sitting in the front.
Were you surprised?
Not top of the class. Yeah, I was. I was surprised, kind of. I think I just, when I couldn't play around, then what else was I supposed to do?
It's pretty amazing though, because it's like one moment that because I know you've got a master's.
Yeah, in finance. I did that because I wanted to. Everyone had degrees, and I was like, well, how am I going to stand out if everyone else has got a management degree? So I got my master's, and because I had done my undergrad in finance, and the lecturer at Victoria University said, come and do your master's, because I was in Wellies. I said, okay. So I went and did it.
It's amazing.
So I just did it.
Do you think you're resilient?
Yeah, I'd say I am.
Did you learn that from your upbringing, or you got that from your mum?
I probably got it from when I was in social welfare homes, actually.
Mm.
And at school, when people think you're dumb, or that you're the play-up kid, or you're the naughty kid. You kind of have to toughen the skin a little bit. Not that it didn't hurt, but obviously.
How's that different now that if you take it away from your experience and then you think about as a mother, because you've got 4 kids, right?
50 kids, yeah.
You got 4 kids. Yeah. And I always say to people, the 4th is the most important, because I'm the 4th, right? And if my mother hadn't gone once more, I wouldn't be here. So
she thinks she's important, our 4th.
Yeah. So how does that translate?
Resilience.
Well, and also, how you bring them up after what you experienced when you grew up.
Yeah. They're probably spoiled, actually, my kids. I've given them a lot of what I didn't have. But I'm also quite hard on them in terms of education, in terms of giving to others, like being nice to others. And so I try my hardest to be a good mum, is probably my point.
What's the age range?
We've got 2 teens at the moment, so I'm using resilience in that regard. 12 and 14 are our oldest, and then 10 and 5.
Wow.
So
what's that been like in lockdown?
Horrendous.
For the 5-year-old.
Horrendous for her. She's enjoyed being on the iPad a lot more and being at home by mummy, but from a relationship perspective, it wasn't good.
Are you full time in Tanya, or you got a day?
No, I've got a day. I've got a contract role.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah,
because startups are not cheap.
I do like almost kind of probably about 19 to 20-hour days most of the time.
Oh, that's
not all the time, but a lot. Like I wake up at about 3 or 4 in the morning and get all the Tanya work done, and then I do my contract role. Yeah, and then I might attend a couple of sessions like this during the day, at lunch breaks or things like that, and then in the afternoon, I usually do my kids after school.
Yeah.
After I finish my day job, and then once I've gone to bed, I'll work if I have to.
Starting a business, and if we think about your history, Carter Holt, Fonterra, even Bank of Queensland, you've worked in big environments with big projects, big numbers, and then you had some crazy idea to do a startup, right? Like
I missed the pot of gold and the resources.
Did you? Because you're nearly maybe 3 years down. 3 years down.
Yeah, going on 3 years. Yeah.
Is the startup experience what you thought it was going to be?
No, it's really hard.
It's really what?
The first bit was hard. The first bit basically rips your soul to pieces.
We're not on the couch, but talk to me about
what that is. So when you've got a startup, if you don't flush with cash, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to be able to believe in it in order to work long hours to make it happen, to make sacrifices with your family, with money, And so I've fully bootstrapped Tanya, which means all the money that I've been paying for her over the last couple of years, if that could have gone to my family. And there were cases where we only had $10 until for a couple of days and we didn't have food in the cupboards, and so you really, and there was about 3 months there where I had to rebuild her in the early days, and I had to go through a really wicked kind of personal experience to determine how badly I wanted it, because I had made huge sacrifices, and my husband supported me a lot. He was like, well, you decide, you either do it or don't, You've spent a lot of time on it. And so it was huge soul searching. It was like, why am I doing it? And, at first I was doing it because Mum said. And then what happened, I realized, and so then I tried to keep doing it and it didn't stick. And I was like, okay, that's not enough. And then what I realized, I actually, although she had trained and we had dreamt together, that was also my vision. So that made it easy. So when I started working on it again, because I knew it was something I wanted, I wasn't doing it for somebody else, that I was able to get through all of the traps and dark corridors.
How do you deal, you've got, I know through engaging with you on the phone a lot, right, that you have resilience, but also you use humor, right?
Yeah.
You brush shit off the whole time. How do you cope with rejection as a startup founder?
I cry. I remember when Xero, I tried to use robotics process automation to strip the data off the front. And Xero said no. And then I try to push and say, but RPA's, really cool. It's machine learning, blah, blah, blah. And they said no, and they refused. And I remember when I got the email, driving back to Pydor to my mother-in-law's, crying because I didn't know how to write APIs. I didn't even know what they were. And I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. And so
but you found a way.
Well, that's why you have to understand why you're doing it. That's why that whole soul searching at the beginning is really critical, because when things like that happen, you do fall apart and you're sad and you're like, oh my God, why is this not working? But then that is the thing that enables the fire to still burn. And so if you don't have that as a startup, that's why people they call them serial entrepreneurs, where they start up, drop. And, they could do that for their whole lives and they never win. It's you have to truly believe in it, because that enables you to stick to it. And then once you're stuck to it, even if you try to, even after I realized it was my vision, I try to pull away from it because it was too hard. We ran out of money. You can't, because it's like this little voice that just goes, I'm still waiting.
Do you think, what's the best thing? What are the things that you love being a startup founder?
Oh, I love my team. I love our family, our Tania.ai family. I love how Tania is bringing together two worlds, which is for me, Māori and Pākehā. It's two worlds that don't normally go together, that people don't think can normally go together. But we're bringing it together so it becomes more powerful, rather than it being this banging against each other.
Yeah. You raised something that's just super interesting and important for me, which is I was going to say it's an obligation. It's not really an obligation, but, wahine, Māori, tech.
Yeah.
They're three rare things in Aotearoa.
Yeah.
Right? And I, it's not an obligation, but I just, my observation is the more people believe that this can be done, the more that will not be a rarity.
Yeah.
I think of,
yeah,
you go.
you have to see it to be done, right? So I'm used to walking, like I'm used to the path like as if it's snowing and there's no path. I'm used to the path not being there and just trudging through that crap. Like, I'm going to get there. As long as I know where I'm going, I'll just push
You
through.
know the corporate people that you've worked with?
Yep.
How do they, when you ask them, describe me, how do they describe you?
So they're still around. The guys from Carter Hot Harvey, I'm still friends. My boss at Carter Hot Harvey when I was young gun, like kind of late 20s. I remember he said
Like yesterday.
Yeah, last week. He said I was one of the sharpest pencils in the pack. And that was when I was leaving, actually. He probably wouldn't have said it while I was still there. That I think I had like the last day. And he said that to me. And I said,
it's pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah. He used to be a director at PwC and he was the audit manager at Rank Group.
I interviewed a guy, Luke, who was at Rank Group. Do you know Luke?
I know a guy called Sven. He used to do audits with me. He was on our team. Yeah, he's now, I think he's their chief financial officer.
What's the dream for? Now, I've also seen on LinkedIn you do this NASDAQ, road to NASDAQ.
Road trip
to NASDAQ. Talk to us about that and also what the dream is for Tanya.
Okay. So the reason for the road trip to NASDAQ was initially I thought when me and Mum were dreaming, I was going to be the secretary of this really big business. We didn't know what it was. Then I went to varsity and realized there were other roles apart from secretary. So there was more to do. And so the road trip to NASDAQ is about, initially I thought it looked like this. And as I've gone throughout my career, I actually thought when I stood up Tanya, she was going to be worth 340 million by the time I finished building her. But then I met Linda, this chick from Silicon Valley. And then after talking to her,
Jenkinson.
Yeah, Linda Jenkinson. And after talking to her the first time, she said, you need $1 billion mindset. And I was like, oh, shit. And so she's done it before. Sorry, I shouldn't say shit, but she's done it before.
Makes me feel comfortable.
Oh, cool. I'm going to make $1 billion. Cool. Let's do that. And then I attended her first CEO circle session and we went through the first couple of workshops she made us go through. And I was like, and she told us about how she was the first to list on the NASDAQ, like a woman, youngest woman. And she was from New Zealand. And I was like, and she did it in 8 years, she said. And I said, right, if you can do it,
I think she was from a small town. I think she was from Palmerston North.
Yeah, she is.
Somewhere like that.
Yep, she is. And so it's like you got to be exposed to what's possible, right? So when I saw her and I knew she had done it, then I was like, well, then I can do that. If she can do it, I can. So that's why I decided that, we'd go for the 1 billion and list on the NASDAQ. And it's not the vision for Tanya, if it became all about the money, it wouldn't be enough to keep everyone going. Because money's never enough. So the vision is always at the forefront. But I'm happy to tick off a couple of other boxes on the way. And the reason I share that story on LinkedIn is because, like you say, not many Māori, especially women in tech, actually do what I'm trying to do. And I thought about, and this is that whole soul searching thing that happens throughout the whole of the startup process, by the way. But effectively, I thought, oh my God, am I really going to open up and let everyone see us fail? That was my initial thought. And then I thought, but if I don't share it now, how are people going to see that it can be done? Because I know that I'll get it done eventually. Somehow it'll get done legally. And without stepping on people. So that's why I share it, because I think it's important that people see that things maybe don't turn out sometimes, just like in my life. I've been crying in the car because Zero said no. Sometimes things just don't run smoothly. but you can always come back from it. And I guess that's why I'm sharing it, just so that it lets people see that it's possible.
And the dream for Tanya, like,
for me, like, big vision is absolutely list on the NASDAQ. Like, that's cool. Make sure her valuation is $1 billion. But with that money and with that capability and capacity, be able to stand up a number of different business units within Tania.ai, like education for youth within New Zealand that have kind of missed out on those basics, which makes it really hard for them to go forward into higher level education. Support around solo mothers, people upskilling their capability in terms of tech, especially tech, and support those that didn't necessarily have a good life. If you look at Mum, I remember people talked about her and they said, we don't know how she did it. She couldn't read and write, and look at all her kids. They're educated, they went to uni, but she was smart. And so just because people are on the dole or have got DPB or they've got a criminal history doesn't necessarily mean that they're not smart. It just means that whatever pathway they took earlier on was different from what lots of others do. But that shouldn't constrain them from being able to follow a successful career in anything. I guess it's harder when you've taken a different pathway at the beginning for people to be able to build trust and believe in you. And so that's one of the key things that we'd like to do with Tania.ai.
Okay, now, so we're November 2021.
Yeah.
I always like to ask people this question.
Oh, go.
Here we go. Where are you going to be at this time next year, Tanya? How many users? How much revenue?
Yeah. So we'd like to be at least 10,000 users within the first 12 months of standing up Tania. It's millions of dollars in revenue. I'd like to have employed a range of different people from different backgrounds with different education within our organisation. I'd like to see our team, our founding team, because some of our founding team members didn't exactly start out life educated. And so I'd like to see them excel into global roles. And so ours is about a true breeding ground for growing the person, not necessarily the background. And so, and in terms of small to medium organizations, like, how you get like that little, like that fuzzy feeling inside when it feels good? Yeah. I just got that just then as I was about to talk about it. But what I'd like to see is some of our small to medium, well, not some, but most of them be able to be stronger in their businesses, be stronger in their understanding of financials, because everything lands in the numbers. Like, it doesn't matter, how many likes or shares
on social, on Instagram,
anything.
Are you on the talk?
Eh?
Are you on the talk? Are you on the TikTok?
TikTok? No, but I've watched it. I don't really know.
On the top.
I have.
Why aren't you on the top?
Well, I tried, and then my kids just went, "Don't, Mum. It's not. It doesn't. It's not good.
It's not cool, Mum."
Well, no, I just wasn't good. I wasn't good. But because the problem is that I liken it to people will sit there and they'll spend an hour on their Facebook and Instagram, business owners, looking at how many people engage with them and commented on them. If you've still only got $5 in the bank, you've only got $5 in the bank. If people actually spent the same amount of time actually on their businesses a day in terms of their financials, it tells you where everything's going right or not going right.
I suppose I never really thought about it, but the accounting systems create a barrier.
Yeah. Terminology.
To terminology and access. I mean, I've seen it a lot in raising capital, right? Because I've been involved in helping so many companies raise capital. I see how all the terminology creates a black box of mystery for people. And I can now sort of see as well, and like I did the accounting degree
Yeah.
and yada yada. But over the last year, I've put my own zero in, right? And it's just interesting where you go, how do I solve that? And the super interesting thing is, and how do I understand it, is a lot of us we feel embarrassed asking.
Yeah.
And what Tanya does is that I can ask Tanya.
Yeah.
And so, and actually I think the more people that come on to Tanya, because of the artificial intelligence and the machine learning, it's going to get better and better and better and smarter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty epic. And for a limited period of time, people can use it now.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to put it up into Manaaki so that people can see the link and they can try it out and get some feedback as well. And if I was just thinking,
yeah.
So given that you're a financial guru, right? Well,
Yep.
like what, other than using Tanya, every business should use it. What would be your, top 3 points for business owners around their financials?
Okay. One is always reconcile your numbers, like your transactions, your bank transactions. I know it's not the number one
So
thing.
reconcile.
And the reason for that is if you don't have full transparency over your financial information, you basically driving a car without a dashboard and a steering wheel. You're literally just sitting in the seat and just hoping like hell you're not speeding, it doesn't crash, and so that's effectively what unreconciled transactions is.
So reconcile, that's number one. Number two
is know what a margin is. Margins.
Yeah.
What margins
Can you explain? I mean, I know what margin is, but what's the formula?
So the thing is that everyone always worries about the cash in their bank, right? Yeah. And they think that, that's how they live. That's why they live from day to day, is because they think the business is, if I've got money in the bank, I can survive. So that's a survival tactic, is only watching your cash in the bank. If you watch your margins, which is effectively revenue less your costs, that bottom number, effectively what that tells you is whether your business is actually a real life business. So
it can sustain itself.
Yeah. Because if you're making a loss on either some products or some services, then you shouldn't do them anymore. And if you don't know what those margins are for your business as a whole, let alone at a product or service level, then you're actually potentially doing a lot of work that you don't need to do, or your product isn't the right product for the market. So that's
two. So reconcile your transactions, know your margins. 3.
And then this is I say don't watch your cash, but I mean as in your receivables, people who owe you money and who you owe money to, right? Because what happens is people get into cash flow difficulty when they don't have enough money to pay the bills, right? And so what you have to make sure is that you keep on top of those so that your cash flow is able to sustain the amount of money you have to pay out. What people get into is they stop paying their suppliers because they haven't been paid. And what that means is your supplier or your vendor then says, stuff you, I'm not doing it for you. They'll do it for you for a little bit, and then everyone starts to get into trouble. Then you go and get debt to cover it. But in actual fact, if you made sure you manage your cash flow from a cash in, cash out perspective, then you're going to be in a much stronger place and you won't be getting into financial trouble. But what I found was when I was doing the research for Tania.ai, there are 2 reasons a business fails. The first one is cash flow, but it's not my number one. And the reason is because you can't see if you're failing if you've got unreconciled transactions. Secondly, is product fit, and that comes from things. So product fit is, but if you look at it, if you have bad product fit, you've got no money, because Bad product fit means that you haven't made a product that people want to pay for.
Yeah. That's the grail too, right? Product market
Absolutely.
fit.
If you don't
how do you feel? For Tanya, how do you feel around achieving product market fit?
I think she's in a really strong position in terms of product market fit, only because of the significant beta testing we did with accountants and end users. What I think now, though, is what we did is we built the mansion, like 1,500 rooms, 45,000 toys to play with in it. But in terms of real product market fit, you need to actually nail that down to a certain area before you start building the rest of the
niche. You need to go niche.
Yeah, and we knew
that demand.
Yeah, and we knew that. But what happened was with financials, if you can't look at cash flow, P&L, and balance sheet all at the same time, then you don't get a full view. And so that's why we built the mansion, because the mansion requires finance in order for you to have a snapshot. Like if you think about it, cash is in cash flow and your bank accounts, right? It's also in the balance sheet. Revenue, costs, profit and loss, balance sheet, because people owe you money that hasn't been paid yet. And so all of these three statements, they all intertwine. And so you need to be able to look at that set of data and then bring the certain areas that you need to focus on to the forefront. And so what we're looking at in terms of Tanya.ai is what we call our daily briefing. And that's where we're giving a snapshot. So 5 minutes a day, it'll take you to look at your unreconciled transactions, your cash, your profit and loss, your receivables, your payables. So we're really giving you that top level view so that you know exactly where you're at.
And part of the thing that's so interesting and why it's such a great opportunity is that when I ran the Ice House, right, I was sitting in the back of a course, and one of our courses, hearing an accountant talk about aged debtors, right? And our aged debtors was 88 days, right?
Holy.
I know. And I heard this guy talk about the impact on that, and I was like, oh yeah, ours is shit. Right, okay. So I went back to one of my guys, and we got it down to 42 days, right?
That's still pretty big, yeah.
I know. But guess what? We had $1 million more in the bank.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did I not know this? And that's the thing, right? Like, accounting systems just give us stuff, and they count things, and they put them in the right boxes. But it's the insights that come out of it that helps people drive decisions. And then all of us, because once you get it, you're like, oh, I've got more money.
Holy crap.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Tanya even told one of our accounting partners that his debtor days were increasing. So that's
Did he enjoy that?
Yeah, he laughed actually. He goes, she even taught me something today. So just about that whole.
Yeah. Now you're moving. Oh, I think we just lost Tanya.ai. Maybe there was a power cut, or maybe I'm hoping it was not an earthquake. That's a little bit unfortunate. I don't know whether we'll be able to get Donnamaree back in, but I just wanted to say thank you very much, Donnamaree, for bringing Tanya.ai to us, into the Manaaki crew, for all of our community members to trial it out by Christmas. Donnamaree's got an objective of getting 500 users using the platform. Let's see what we can do to take Tanya.ai for a spin and use it to improve our own financial literacy. I'm gonna sign off now. Say happy Friday, happy financial. Oh, there she's back.
Yeah, sorry.
Now,
that
wasn't an earthquake.
No. No, it wasn't. It was
because you know that we don't have.
They don't make fun about the Tron. There was an internet on my computer.
I would not want to piss you off.
Oh, wait. He's going to make fun of the Tron now.
No, I'm not. I'm not, because Pat and Monty will beat me up.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, that's very helpful then, isn't it?
Emotionally, not physically. Hey, now,
Yeah, sorry.
I'm mindful. So one thing I always ask everyone I talk to is, what advice would you give your 15-year-old self if you were back at school now, like going through the same thing? What, like, finishing exams, getting to the end of the year? What's the advice you'd give yourself?
That
Be
life's
nice to
really
your mum.
Yeah. No, not really. Is that life's really hard, and you just have to know that when you fall over, you can pick yourself back up. Because as much as I sit there and I tell my kids, work hard at school, they're just going to do whatever they want anyway. And so for me, it's about them being able to deal with any challenges that come their way.
Yeah, and it is remarkable. I think the resilience that you show, and the strength that you show, right? And I do think, like when we're afraid of it,
Yeah.
the reality is when you embrace it,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
You just got to get up. But do you think it's do you think it's kind of heavy for you? When you say life is hard, or is that just preparing oneself for the fact that it actually you get good outcomes through hard graft and hard mahi?
Well, I think maybe that's why I'm okay now. Is because I knew it wasn't going to be a ton of roses, right? It was going to be hard work. I think it's when we pretend like it's easy. That's when we set them up for failure.
Totally.
Because it can be, it's not just work stuff, it's personal life, it's friends, it's boyfriends or girlfriends or family members, nothing always is perfectly aligned and is running smoothly. And so it's being able to know that there's a way through those times. And I'm not saying it just because it's COVID. I would say it if it wasn't COVID. That's probably been the one thing that I've had to do while standing up Tania.ai.
Yeah. And so I think the other thing is that what we might get you to do is do a live workshop into the Manaaki community as well using Tania.ai. But I just want to say it's Friday morning. You're going to be busy. I've got to go and pitch now for sponsorship for Manaaki, which
Good
is
luck.
I need resilience for that, because it's it's not about them, it's about us harnessing our pitch so that we can get people to say yes. And that's a challenge. But I actually really enjoyed spending some time with you and kind of learning more about your background, but also, the point that's really struck with me is the joy of technology is that it takes the barriers away to help us use that information to make better decisions. And that's what Tania does. And that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I think, because people are like data, everyone wants to get into the data space, but there's no point throwing data at people if they don't understand what the points mean. Graphing it, putting it in a flash little dashboard, because in the end, people learn through conversation. That's why we have education.
So true. So as we all say,
hey, is there anything I can help you with in terms of your pitch today? Is there anything I can do for Manaaki? Just let me know. Let me and my team know. I'm happy to.
Yeah, you're incredible. I think, we have a shared ambition, Manaaki, and as you do, to reach and create opportunities for people to strive for more independence. That's the thing about small business. And behind small business as an individual, as a family, as a community. And I think, we're just excited to do that and to push hard on that, and not to help people, but to create opportunities for those people to grab it. So And if you're
Absolutely.
speaking to your friendly bankers, you can say, yeah, you should be supporting Manaki and all the small businesses there. Because we've got an ambition to get, you know, we've got about nearly 5,000 members on Manaki, and we want to get to 40,000 pretty quickly. So share the love, share the dream, and go the Tron.
The Tron rock.
Okay, team. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Donnamaree, for sharing, and we will be seeing you soon. Goodbye.